right, folks, it's Fantasy Football Now on Fantasy Sports, powered by DSP Media. I'm Jeff Fiddle. Follow me on the X app that happens. They call me Tito. He is Chad Rink. They call him Chad Rink. Follow the X app, Chad Ocho Rink. You can find him there. Download the app. It's free for Apple and Android users. Round-the-clock program. We got so many great shows, new shows coming up. Chad and I have been with you all season long, get you through the drafts, get you through lineup decisions, all those things that we do. Fantasy Sports Facebook group, interact with hosts, other fans, and obviously go to fantasysports.com. Chad Rink, this is episode 2 of the 2024-2025 season. How are you, my friend?
Yes. Outstanding. I'm excited because it's that time you start doing mock drafts. You're getting excited about. I call it the greatest showman part of my fantasy thing because like every night I lie in bed, the brightest players in my head, a million teams is keeping me awake because of all the teams I keep envisioning because you do a mock draft like, okay, how does this work with, if I take 2 running backs? I did one we'll talk about later because we're going to talk about running backs. I did one where I took a running back in the first 3 rounds and it was just a mock 1 QB half PPR deal, and the team's kind of great. So we'll talk about that later. But it's like the best time. It's all fresh.
We're not lying. That's what Chad does. That's what I do. We spend time. Our downtime. It's not interacting with family. Yeah. It's not doing like other constructive things in the world. We're not out there building models and stuff like that. We're not fixing things around the house. This time of year, you and I are both. When I get a moment of downtime, I'm looking at the latest fantasy football news all over the place, try to see what's going on and try to deduce what I can believe, what I can't believe, and working on who do I want. I mean, hell, you and I the other day, I offered you a trade in one of our leagues. I did make a trade in another league too, by the way. In a dynasty league, I traded David Njoku and Mitchell from Indianapolis, the wide receiver, Donald Mitchell. Yeah. The rookie. I traded those 2 guys for Travis Kelce in a dynasty league. Yeah. Might be stupid, might not. Kelce will work for a couple years for me, though, I would hope. Right. But I'm constantly looking at trades to make in all the leagues that we're in. Yeah. Dynasty leagues are one league we do. We get a couple of keepers and a rookie draft. I'm always looking at those things. Yeah. But we talked last time, Chad, about the quarterback thing, and you don't want to draft the first quarterback. Don't be the first one off the board on that one, right?
Right. Exactly.
And then let's talk now some running back strategies because, I mean, how do you feel about the running back? How's your running back strategy this year? What do you think?
Looking at it and doing it, and we'll talk about this and the wide receivers. I think it's a Huey Lewis type deal where we're going to go back in time, back when, if you've done fantasy football long enough, when you had to take RB first, second round, it was always you got to go bulk RB, and then it kind of morphed into, hey, you don't need to get a running back early. You could get them later and stuff like that. But I think this year, and we'll talk through it and see. But I think this year, you want. I think I'm going to go 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds.
You think so? We're talking about PPR leagues here. Full point PPR is usually what we talk about. I think the old leagues without the PPR are dead. I think those are stupid anymore. I know we have super flex, 6-point passing touchdown, but majority, I bet 80% of the leagues people play in are PPR leagues.
Oh yeah, at least half are full. But even that, I think it's my first, because we'll go through it and you start looking at rounds. Who would you rather have, one of these running backs or the receivers? But and I think the running backs, like really good running backs, you're going to count on. There's a drop off, and then there's like this dead zone where it's like nobody, and then you can kind of look at rounds 9 and 10 really to pick up that third running back. So
do you want?
We'll see.
CMC?
No. If I had the number,
I don't.
No.
Go ahead.
He's getting older. No, he's getting older. I mean, he could, like, he's been ridiculous in San Francisco, and he can still score 20 touchdowns.
Right.
It's one of those things I want to get off him before the bottom falls out, and he could get hurt. He could still be great. Like if you're at the 101, you kind of feel like you have to take him, but I don't. I think if you want to go running back, Bijan or Breece Hall can be just as good, or just go take CeeDee Lamb. And
I mean, this is the year you don't want the 1 pick, right? In your drafts, you don't want the number 1 pick. In a redraft league, you don't want number 1, do you?
No. I give me 3 to 6, 7 is where I want.
I think I'm the same way on that, but I think so too. I'm with you on CMC. A lot of carries, a lot of touches. I know he was good last year and all that, but you're right. You want to be on the right end of it versus the wrong end of it. And it could come back to bite us in the ass on that one. But I'm with you in our drafts. unless somebody tells me, like, we're doing drafts for the people and things. Unless someone says, hey, at 1, I want CMC,
right,
I'm probably going elsewhere.
Exactly. I agree. And again, it could come back, it can bite us, but who knows? It's just the age, the playoff run, it's just, you got younger guys that can still do, can be as productive. So I'm off CMC.
Okay. But CMC is still in your top tier, but he's not the first one you'd want.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm sitting at the 104,
right.
Like at that point, even if it went like, let's say what Lamb, Hill, Jefferson,
right
at the 104, then I'm like, it's still like, I still like Bijan and Hall better, but I think I would still take Bijan or Breece Hall over CMC.
I think at 4, I'd take Bijan. If I had a choice between the two, I think I might take CMC over Hall, but I like Bijan quite a bit this year in that new Falcons offense and what they're going to do. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think get a lot of passes from Kirk Cousins. So I think I'd take Bijan there first. But then, so where's your next tier after that? So you got CMC, Bijan, and Breece Hall in some order. Is that where the tier breaks off for you?
Yes, it is. And then you look at, and then if you're looking at it, you still have 2 others that usually go in the first round. So the next tier I have is Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs. Those 2 are the other ones that are going at the end of the first. And then you've got Barkley, and I have ETN, and then I break it off, even though Kyron Williams is drafted higher than ETN. I like ETN better, but that's my next group is at 4.
Yeah, because you and I are both a little bit weary about Kyron, right? Kyron. Yeah, we're both excuse me. We're both a little bit weary of him. Yeah. But the Jonathan Taylor thing is another guy. We were about the age on that, but it's like the Taylor, even Saquon Barkley, who's another tier down there, I guess, on something like that. Right. But Saquon, though, is still somebody also. I worry about the wear and tear.
I do. It's just he's now behind the best offensive line, and that's got to account for something. So he's going to get plenty of carries, goal line carries, and they'll probably rest him some because they still have, I think, Gainwell there. They got other guys that they like to throw in, so he's probably not going to get the amount of touches, but I think the touchdown upside with that offense is huge on that. And Taylor's another one too. Like he kind of worries me just because if Richardson stays healthy, he could
run
a bunch. Yeah, he could steal a bunch of inside the 10 touchdowns. But Taylor's going to get the work.
Sure, he will. Yeah. Taylor's definitely get the work. There's the one back. He'll be the workhorse back on that one. So
I think of that group. If that group, I would take Gibbs over all of them. Those 4.
I love Detroit's offense this year. Yeah. I love every part of it. I think that they've got a great mix of pass and run options. I like Goff this year, and I think that I love the fact they play in a dome. I love that part as well, even though I'm not going to overrate that. Like I said, I would in the last podcast, but still, I'm with you. I like Gibbs quite a bit this year too. Plus, they're lining up in the slot. I know Dave Montgomery's going to steal some touches from near the goal line, but I still like Gibbs quite a bit too.
Yeah. Plus, they play on Thanksgiving.
That's, by the way, don't mock that. That is absolutely a real thing.
You love it. You love your Thanksgiving guys.
Yes. I love my Thanksgiving guys. Yeah. But yes, I'm with you on that. I think I'd go Gibbs there. And then Barkley's probably the top of your next tier, right?
Well, Barkley's in that group. So it's Taylor Gibbs, Barkley, Etienne. And so then the next group, and this is, I think, where there's a big drop where you probably then want to start looking at receivers. So the next group, you got 5. You got Williams, you got Henry, Pacheco, Chain, and then Josh Jacobs. So that's the next group. Yeah. And those guys are going. So really it's Williams, Henry, and Chain. Like Williams is going at the 203. Chain and Henry are going the back of the second. And then you got Jacobs and Pacheco going the top half of the third.
I would like to have 2 running backs before that tier hits, if I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can have 2 in there, I'd feel pretty good about where I'm at. And then I have no problem picking off receivers from that point on. But you have to get 2 in that tiers we're talking about. Don't you have to take pride in the first 2 rounds, unless you're top of the third?
Yeah, I mean you would have to, because again, like it is because Pacheco's going to 305. So
yeah,
if you are late first, you may end up just having to go, Gibbs, Barkley, Gibbs, ETN.
Right.
And then, and we'll look at the receiver rounds too. But yeah, if you want, those are the top. I would want two of those guys. If I can't get two of those, then I'll probably wait a bit and just try to get some better value with some of the other running backs.
And because you got a lot of running backs out there. One of the guys I like a lot this year, notice the hat. I like Jaylen Warren quite a bit this year for Pittsburgh. I think the fact the Steelers didn't pick up Najee Harris's fifth-year option, and I think they're going to use Warren even more this year than they did last year. And they were damn near 50-50 split on touches for a good chunk of the year last year. So I think that Warren is a good late-round pick. I like Blake Corum in L.A. also. Like we talked about that the other day. Blake Corum's one I like too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think because of the hold on, I got to text my kids to let the dogs out. So because they're going nuts. So it's okay, guys. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at it, if you're looking at like Najee Harris is going in the 6th, and then you've got Warren going in the 8th. So Harris isn't going like he was a couple years ago. Right. He had to be in like the top 3. So I like that. Yeah, I mean, like I think there's some guys late, because then if you start looking like the next group, so you're looking in the 4th and 5th round, Rachaad White, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Mixon, Kamara, and Aaron Jones. And I don't like Cook and Mixon. I think I wouldn't mind. I don't know if I want them as a 2, the RB2 though. But those are the only guys I kind of mind in there, because you got Kamara and Jones' age. You got Walker is going to have I think more of a timeshare with the Charbonnet, and then Rachaad White's great catching the ball out of the backfield, but I think he averaged like 3.4 yards a
wasn't very effective. Yep.
And that offense I don't think is going to be very good.
Well, they drafted Bucky Irving. They used a pick on him fairly early too. So I think that, and go back on the Mixon thing, I like Mixon a lot this year. I think Mixon with that Houston offense will get a lot of opportunities. Even when we thought Mixon was like, I don't say garbage, but slowing down. When we thought that was going on, he still put up decent numbers in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to have him run like 30 times a game. And if he does, it's going to be late carries at the end of the game to seal the game, and the defense can be tired. So I like Mixon a lot, especially if you like. He is right now at the 409. Yeah. So if you wanted, he would be the one I really wouldn't mind as a 2. Like Cook is
I'd take him
one
as
of those.
2.
Yeah, so if you wanted to go a running back in one of those first rounds and still get a couple receivers, Mixon's probably a guy you want to target, because again, he's going later 4, so you can draft him a little bit early.
I mean, don't you think he's 15 to 22 touches a game?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think he is, and I think that offense is going to score some points. Yeah. They're going to get inside when they get inside the 10 and the 5. I think they're going to try to run the ball a lot as well. So I do like Mixon, and he's got a great ADP right now. I don't think it's going to move too much, and I don't think he's got too much competition either.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. I agree with you. I think he's going to get the lion's share of the touches in that backfield there, and I think he's still healthy enough and playing for a winner again. That'll help him out also. Yeah,
and then I did real quick. If you want to go like this next group, it's like so round 6. You're looking at James Conner, David Montgomery, Madre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris is in 6. And then 7 is Zamir White, Mostert, Tony Pollard, and Zach Moss. I really don't like any of them. Montgomery just for touchdown upside. Stevenson, I think just because he's probably one of the most talented ones. But I'm not buying Zamir White being good just because he's going to be the RB1 in Oakland.
I think he'll get overdrafted this year. I think people will hear so much RB1 that they'll take him way too early. I'm okay with Stevenson. And the other ones you mentioned, like, you got Connor. Now he's got, he's got competition there with Benson.
Yep,
that kind of thing, And Connor could still be really good for the first half of the year, but who knows that Arizona offense? Maybe he'll be great. Maybe Benson will get some love in that one too. The Pollard thing, Tennessee. I was going to ask you about this. Tennessee now has Bill Callahan there, the offensive line coach, came over from Cleveland. He's a great offensive line coach.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that will help Tony Pollard out. Even though, I know you got Spears there as well. But, Pollard did not perform last year like everyone thought he would, me especially.
Right.
But is he up for resurgence, you think?
I think so, just because I think he's not going to have to. I think what the problem with him is when he's got to be the workhorse, he's not built like that.
Right.
Not that Spears is either, but I think between the two of them, I think, I think it'll be decent. And Pollard's one of those guys, he's maybe like an HN light where he can get some explosive runs. He can catch out the backfield.
Right.
So I don't mind Pollard, especially getting him in the 7th round, where last year you had to pretty much draft him early 2nd.
Sure.
Yeah.
Get him early on. And look, I don't expect Zeke to do much in New England. That's why, or in Dallas. I mean, I think Dallas offensive line, they've had some changes there. I don't expect the OL to be what it's been in years past. I think Zeke, he may get the volume, but he's going to average 3.5 yards a carry and maybe score 7 or 8 touchdowns, but he's not going to be great this year.
No, again, I think that people are going to say, he's with Dallas, he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. He may have 7 or 8. He's not going to carry the ball a ton. He's not going to have a ton of yards. And I think that team's going to still throw the ball. You got CeeDee Lamb, you've got Ferguson. So you got guys you can throw to. So I'm not, and Zeke's he's around 10.
Right.
So, I mean, you get that. So, if you're looking at even around 8, the one guy that, Javonte Williams, the Denver backfield's weird because they got 3 guys that can go. Nick Chubb could be interesting because he's right now in round 8.
That's going to change either up or down based on what kind of news we get in the preseason here.
Right. And then I think a couple other guys I like is Eckler and Brian Robinson in Washington.
Right.
Both of them could have pretty solid seasons. And they're both you draft them both in the 9th round. So take a chance on one. If one gets hurt, Eckler still may have some in the tank, but he's a little bit older.
So if you're drafting right now today, or if you're drafting in the next few days, we're not going to learn anything more about Nick Chubb for a couple of weeks, right? We're not going to know for a couple of weeks what's going on with Nick Chubb. So if you're drafting today, if I tell you, let's say right now, you could have Chubb right now in the 8th round. Are you gambling on that, or are you going to say, you know what, I want to wait and see what the stock does? Because buying right now at the 8th round, it could change up or down either way. Yeah.
I think if I'm I've got actually a draft on Friday, one buddy that with our kids and stuff like that from church. Right. I'm like, why do you have it? I was I'm like, why do you have it so early? It's crazy. So I probably would take a chance on him in the 8th round, just because, even if he plays half the year, let's say he sits out 4 or 5 games.
Right.
I'm not Jerome Ford's fine, but he's not Nick Chubb. So they're going to put him out on the field. And if he's healthy, he's so good.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I would take him in the 8th round right now as well. We all saw the videos of him squatting 500 pounds, whatever it was, He's on the field doing some things, but he's obviously not full go yet.
No.
But this is his 2nd major knee injury there on that same knee. And so we'll see what happens with that. But another guy I want to ask you about the Giants, the rookie they drafted this year, Tracy, right? That's the Giants. That's the other guy in the Giants backfield. And I'm curious what he's going to look like this year, because I know they've got Devin Singletary there and they expect him to be kind of the workhorse guy, but Singletary's never been great in my opinion. So last couple rounds, I might take a flyer on Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Because Singletary, he couldn't carry the load in Houston. He couldn't do it in Buffalo either. So why not take that's where those late rounds people here's a good tip. Do not be drafting backup kickers, defense, even tight ends.
No.
Even if you have a one quarterback league, I would take most of my bench spots with if you especially if you've got a quarterback you're not worried about. If you end up getting Mahomes or even someone that you're not concerned about, I wouldn't even draft a backup, and then you can find quarterbacks on the waiver wire during the season.
Sure.
Load up with high upside receivers or running backs your entire bench, because one of those guys could pan out. And that's the kind of guy, I don't think the Giants offense is going to be great, but sometimes it's just all about volume. And, if a guy's going to get 15 to 20 touches a game, I mean, he's going to fall into some fantasy points.
Let's talk wide receivers now.
Okay.
And, you talked about the Huey Lewis Back in Time. By the way, Back in Time, not one of my top 10 Huey Lewis and the News songs.
No,
I go back a little further. I like their first couple albums. Do You Believe in Love was one of them, Working for a Living and that. And then I like Sports. This is the Back to the Future thing with Back in Time. But but the wide receivers though now, I mean, in PPR leagues, you've got some guys if CeeDee Lamb gets back into camp. I mean, CeeDee Lamb could end up, he could challenge Calvin Johnson's record for reception or receiving yards in a season. You've got him, you've got Jamar Chase, you got obviously Justin Jefferson, the new quarterback situation. Where are you leaning on how many wide receivers you can go in the first round?
Right now, I got them down. Right now, there are 7 that are going in the first round. It's Lamb, Hill, Jefferson, Chase, St. Brown, A.J. Brown, and Nakua. I don't know if I'd take AJ Brown and Nakua in the first round.
I would not.
The other 5, I am fine and would not hesitate to pull the trigger on any of those 5. Even with Jefferson, with having McCarthy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the 5 you mentioned, I'm good with those 5. But I think so too. Yeah, I'm willing to take the chance on that one. But Jefferson, though, won't be the number 1 receiver drafted this year, right? I mean, don't we think it'll kind of go what you said? It'll probably go like a Lamb, Chase, Tyreek Hill kind of thing before we get to Jefferson, which in years past, it'd probably be if Cousins is there or a more skilled quarterback, a more accomplished quarterback, Jefferson would go 1. But I think he's probably 4 this year, and you might get good value on that.
Yeah, I've done several mock drafts, and it's usually either McCaffrey, Lamb, Hill going at the 1, and the earliest I ever saw Jefferson go 2, but mostly he's usually the 3rd is really where he's off, because it's always going to be Lamb, Hill coming off. So it is good value, and again with Chase, St. Brown, he could possibly end up being like the 5th receiver off the board, and I think you have to, even if all the running backs are left, I think you may have to take Jefferson over the 3 running backs at 5.
I think so too. And boy, I'd love me some St. Brown this year. I love Detroit every year though. Like in the dome with Goff and with the way the offense is played late, I like Detroit a lot this year. St. Brown should be great. Laporta there as well. But so we went through and did tiers on the running backs a little bit. You talked about that. Now in the wide receivers, is it deep this year for you?
I think so. And so I really think it is, because I'm looking like we'll get down to like some of the guys that are in like the 7th, 8th, 9th round. The second round guys, like I would try to get one of these guys, because the second round it's Wilson, Adams, Olave, London, and then I want to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. If you want Marvin Harrison Jr. this year, you got to take him probably early mid second.
Right.
So my question is, do you think if Murray stays healthy, can he be a top 12 wide receiver this year?
I think he is if Murray stays healthy.
Okay.
I have more trust in the Murray-Harrison combo than I do in the Olave-Carr combo, in the Cousins-London combo. Yep. I think I have more faith in Harrison there. But and this is where it goes back to another draft strategy thing, Chad. If you're drafting where we live, Harrison's going to go earlier than he should. If you're drafting in Arizona, Harrison's going to go earlier than he should probably. You got to pay attention to the room you're in. If you're doing a live draft, or even doing like a draft with your buddies, are all in the same geographic location, because homers will take these guys earlier.
Yeah, especially up here, they love him. Be the first guy to have him. I do like him better than Adams, Olave, and London. I would still keep him behind Wilson, just because like it's. Yeah,
I think so too. It's tough, but I think I feel the same way. Yeah. The Olave thing, Olave's the quarterback play on that right there. If Murray's healthy, Murray's better than Carr, right? That's the way I look at it. And so that's why I would probably look at it that way. And I'm excited about Harrison this year. I think could be a top 12 guy, but you've got to draft him early if you want him.
Yeah. So here's what I'm looking at. So if let's say you got I would tell you right now, I did this draft. I said, what would happen if I just went running back first 3 picks?
Right.
And I'm just going to run through it real quick. Here's my team. I'll just go quarterback straight down. Joe Burrow, Bijan, Pacheco, Metcalf, Kupp, Rashid Rice, Dalton Kincaid, Josh Jacobs, Jameson Williams, Justin Herbert, Rico Dowd, Brandon Cooks, Josh Palmer.
Okay. The Josh Jacobs is usually your flex guy, I guess, right?
Yeah, I just he was like the best 3rd round running back that was still there, because A-Chain, those guys were already gone. So
I love the quarterbacks. I love the first 2 running backs. Obviously I think that's been good. I love Bijan. The receivers, where Jameson Williams won them. Is that right?
Yeah, because my starters would be Metcalf, Kupp, and Rashid Rice.
And we've heard nothing on Rice yet. It sounds like the Rice suspension, if it happens, will probably come next year.
Yeah. I just want to see what happened. I would not go running back first 3 rounds.
Right.
I just was like, we'll see what happens.
If you'd have gone first 2, who was the best receiver? Do you remember who the best receiver available was?
I don't remember, but it would have probably been in the 3rd round. I maybe have been able to get, usually in that 3rd round, you're looking at Ayuk, Samuels, Collins, Evans. I think Waddle would have probably been there. So that
Ayuk would have been pretty good in that spot.
Yeah. Especially he might be getting traded too. So I don't know.
He could be right, but that could be better for him too. I don't know. I mean, look, and that's the other thing about the Brock Purdy. We can talk about that also. But Purdy, is it him or is it the system? Who the hell knows? I don't know if it's him or the system. It's could you if you put any quarterback in that system with Shanahan and those weapons, would they be just as good? Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. So if you're looking, then you're looking. So you're looking at the 4th, 5th round. You're looking at the running backs: Rachaad White, Walker, Cook, Mixon, Kamara, Jones.
Right.
And then that's the 4th, 5th round running backs. You look at the 4th, 5th round wide receivers. You got DJ Moore, Metcalf, Pittman, Kupp, Devonta Smith, who we can talk about. Nakua, Kupp, like you can even talk about that with the AJ Brown, Devonta Smith,
sure.
Getting Smith 3 rounds later, and then you're looking at Neighbors, who him in the 5th with that offense. If he would have gone someplace better, that would be fine. But then you got in the 5th round Neighbors, Flowers, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, your boy George Pickens, and Tank Dell. So round 5, I really only like Higgins and Pickens there.
I'd be okay taking Neighbors there. I think Neighbors gonna be good this year. I like Neighbors. Yeah, I think that he is quarterback proof.
Okay.
As far as I think that if Jones is just okay, I think Neighbors has a good year. If Jones is bad, they'll throw somebody else in there. Right. I think Neighbors though is talented enough to where they're going to force him the ball quite a bit. He's such a playmaker. Gets the ball in any kind of space, he can be gone.
Yeah, and I mean that team, they're going to be down a lot too. It's just I don't know scoring wise. Like I said, PPR, you just don't know how it's going to go. But that 5th round is kind of weird. And then you got the 6th round. You got Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, McLaurin. 7th round, Jalen Reed, Godwin, Ridley, Hollywood Brown, Odunze, Addison. And then you got the 8th, 9th round. You got Rashid Rice, Worthy, are kind of going back to back. Deontay Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, McConkey. And then you got Christian Watson, Keenan Coleman, JSN. And then guys like Williams, Curtis Samuel, Sutton, and Brian Thomas are around 10. So you've got some guys you can get as a wide receiver 3, 4, 5 in those later rounds that I think are probably better than counting on some of these later running backs to be like an RB3.
You brought up Curtis Samuel, and so that Bills receiver situation now, the fact that they've lost their top 2 receivers, and you've got Keon Coleman in there now, Curtis Samuel's in there now as well. Yep. They've got Khalil Shakir. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, by all reports, has not looked very good in camp so far. He might not make the team when it's all said and done.
Has he ever looked good?
Well, no, but I think the fact that I think Buffalo was hoping he would.
Right.
But so out of those 4 receivers right there, I mean, it feels like to me the one to own is either Coleman or Samuel, but I don't know if I trust either one of them to I'd have to get them really good value on those guys, which is tough to say because Josh Allen might be a top 5 quarterback this year again.
Yeah, I mean, so one of those guys is going to go off. I think Samuel might be the guy to own, just because I like Coleman, just because he's a fun interview guy. Yeah. He just seems like he's just a kid. I like Shakir, but I think he's more of just a deep threat kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And I think Samuel is going to be that safety valve with him. If you're going to own anybody, it just go get Dalton Kincaid. I think Dalton Kincaid could end up being a tight end 1 this year, just because I think with the volume. But I like Samuel being in the slot as a safety valve, and
you get good value on him.
Yeah, he's a good veteran. Yeah. He's a good. You just load up on Buckeye receivers. This, do that.
Feels like the LA Chargers are souring quite a bit on Quentin Johnston, or he's been souring them, I guess, is what he's been doing. Yeah. Which, I really thought the guy'd be decent coming in, and it feels like he's gotten just blown. Everyone's breezing by him on the depth chart.
Yeah, if you watch, I was watching some footage, and somebody tweeted out, they said, I don't think Quentin Johnston can catch a pass unless he's looking directly at the quarterback. Because if you watch him try to over the shoulder, he is so bad. So I am out. He's a guy I will not draft him.
Yeah,
at all. So I really like McConkey. I think could be pretty good in that offense. I do like Josh Palmer too. And they're both, you're talking 8th round for McConkey, and I think Palmer was in the 9th or 10th. He was down that way too.
It seems like what Palmer does well when he gets the opportunities.
He does. Yeah. So you got to, and they've lost every single receiving opportunity almost. You got Eckler, Allen, Williams, Everett. like everybody's gone, so they've got to throw somewhere. So it's just kind of get a feel of where Herbert. I think Palmer could be early on because I think he's got that trust with him already,
right?
And then I think McConkey, could end up being that next guy because I just think I think Johnson's just not going to play.
And they got DJ Chark there now too, which I don't love, but still veteran guy.
Yeah,
and Herbert might look to him also.
Right.
On that
it could be Stone Street season too at the tight end spot. So
that's a great point. You're right. Yeah. The Bears. I know you mentioned the fact that they got Moore signed the big deal, highest paid Bear ever.
I know.
Is he their number one receiver this year?
I think so. I don't know. I think he's. We're not going to find out tomorrow night either because Williams isn't going to play, which I understand that because they got to play the Texans in week 2, so you don't want probably too much going against them having to play them in the regular season week 2. So I think so, but it just depends how this offense is going to run. I think it is because if Waldron's there, I think Moore ends up being the Lockett role. And Keenan Allen ends up being the Metcalf role, and then I think Williams can go deep. Hopefully, can connect with them and stuff. So, but I think it's gonna be more just because I think Allen's not gonna make it an entire season.
And by the way, Thursday night when that kicks off, I mean I don't know when this is gonna get posted. It might get posted, I guess, probably Thursday morning. But Thursday night, when you got that Hall of Fame game, we get to see the new kickoff rule and. Look, it should not have really any effect on what you're doing drafting wise, but I'm curious to see how that's going to play out strategically. Cordell Patterson in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying you draft him. If you're some crazy, stupid, deep league, you might draft him because he could end up getting a little bit of value there, depending on what your return yards rule is in your league also.
Yeah, because they did they kind of statted the XFL, and the XFL had more kickoff yards per kickoff than the NFL because the NFL didn't have it. So I like that new rule. I know people are all up in arms with the onside kick rule, but I'm like, outside of the Saints Colts Super Bowl,
it never works.
So maybe like 3 surprise onside kicks all year. So let's forget about it. And then when you got to announce it, because that's usually when the onside kick is. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's not a big deal, but I am excited about the kickoff because I do enjoy watching kickoffs because there's nothing like that where you get a good 40-yard kickoff that gives that team momentum. It's better chance for scoring too because it's a shorter field.
And the fact, now you can't just let the ball hit the ground and call it like a fair catch, go to the 20 or 5, whatever it is. If it lands, if it lands before the end zone, you've got to return it. There's nothing, no two ways about it. You got to bring it out. You got to run with it. I mean, so that'll be fun to see how that plays out tomorrow night as well, Thursday night.
Yeah, and it's safer too because those guys aren't running 40 yards at full speed. Yeah, so
right. Yep. All right, Chad, this is great, man. Let's do it again here soon. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, to Fantasy Football Now here on FanScreen Sports, powered by DSP Media. He is at Chad Ochorinco on the X. I am at That Happens. Rink, have a great night, brother.
You too, man.